So, whenever you're shipping something internationally, you're trying to solve this giant puzzle, right? How do you take a private business deal and connect it to the massive, complex world of international customs law? It seems super complicated, but there's a golden thread that ties it all together. And today, we're gonna follow it.
Yeah, this is the core question. How does a handshake deal over a coffee in Bogota actually become a legally recognized shipment showing up in a port like Hamburg? Well, the answer is all in the paperwork, and today we are going to unravel exactly how that works, especially when you're shipping out of Colombia. You see, it all comes down to three basic, fundamental pillars of trade.
Okay, first up, you've got the contract. Just think of this as the private agreement, the handshake. It's the deal you make with a carrier to get your stuff from point A to point B. It lays out exactly who's responsible for what from the second your cargo leaves your hands. Next is the document. Now, this is absolutely crucial. It's the physical or digital proof that the contract even exists. And this isn't just some receipt. It's literally the passport for your goods. Without it, your cargo is going nowhere, because officially, it doesn't even have an identity. And finally, the third pillar, customs control. This is the official checkpoint. In Colombia, this is all handled by the DAN. They're the authority that takes your document, that passport for your goods, and they verify that everything about your shipment is playing by the rules. So you can see the flow right here. Your private deal creates the physical proof, which then gets presented for public verification. That document sitting right there in the middle is the literal connection. That's our golden thread. So let's zoom in on that critical piece of paper. All right, section 2, the document, your proof. Let's take the classic maritime document, the bill of lading, or BL. This thing is so powerful because it does 3 jobs at once. First, it's a receipt, simple enough. Second, it's proof of the contract. But third, and this is the real game changer, it can function as a title to the goods. That means whoever holds the original BL physically owns the cargo. That makes it a valuable, negotiable instrument. Pretty cool, huh?
Okay, on to section 3, journeys by sea, air, and land.
So here's the super simple breakdown. For shipping by sea, you've got that powerful bill of lading we just talked about, which acts as a title. For air, you use an air waybill, or AWB. Now, the crucial difference here is that the AWB is not a title to the goods. It's really just proof of the contract and receipt of the shipment. And for land transport within the Andean community, say from Colombia to Ecuador, you'll use a document called the CPIAC, which is specifically designed for those border crossings. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter if you're using a BL, an AWB, or a CPIC. The data on it has to be perfect. The shipper, the consignee, the origin, the destination, and a super detailed description of what's inside the boxes. Any little inconsistency can bring your entire shipment to a screeching halt. Moving on to section 4. The customs gatekeeper. In Colombia, that gatekeeper has a name, the DN. They take your transport document, and it becomes the central piece of evidence they use to decide if your goods can legally enter or leave the country. Period. So why is this one piece of paper so incredibly important? Well, 4 simple reasons. It identifies the goods, it lets customs verify your declaration against what the carrier says they're moving, it provides total traceability from start to finish, and most importantly, it acts as the official authorization. It is the mandatory key, and without it, that gate stays locked. And hey, don't just take my word for it. Colombian law, Decreto 1165 to be exact, puts it pretty bluntly. The transport document is an obligatory support document. Without it, your merchandise simply cannot be nationalized or cleared through customs. It's not a suggestion, folks. It's the law. On to our final section, avoiding costly mistakes, because let me tell you, in global trade, mistakes cost real money fast. All right, let's make this real. Let's say we need to ship 1 metric ton of electronics. That's 1,000 kilograms from Bogota, Colombia, all the way to Hamburg, Germany. We've got options, and believe me, each one comes with a very different price tag. You can see the classic trade-off immediately. Air freight is way faster, but it's also the priciest, at around $4,500. Sea freight is much, much cheaper for this kind of volume, but it's also a lot slower. And because Bogota is inland, you're always going to have a land transport cost just to get the goods to a port, like Cartagena. So if you went for the fastest option, that $4,500 air freight, and then you added in the land transport, insurance, customs fees, you could easily be looking at a total cost like this, $7,000. You can see why planning your route and your documents correctly is so critical to managing these expenses.
So, what are the common mistakes that lead to delays and fines? Well, here are the top offenders: vague descriptions like parts, inconsistent data between your invoice and your BL, forgetting a required permit, using the wrong Incoterm. That's the rule that decides who's responsible for the goods at each stage. And, just simple stuff like missing signatures or dates. Every single one of these is completely avoidable.
Look, if you take one single thing away from this explainer, let it be this. Your transport document is not just another form to fill out. It has to be perfect. It is the golden thread holding your deal, your goods, and the law all together. If that thread breaks, the whole thing just falls apart. And that leaves us with one final thought. In a world where supply chains are getting faster and more automated every single day, the pressure for perfect instant documentation is only going to grow. Your goods are moving at the speed of light. So the real question is your paperwork ready to keep up?